right? And I love that.
And you have to understand that you can't control how people react to you. You can only control how you handle yourself. And ultimately, people will respect you for that. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
That reminds me of another book, The Four Agreements. Have you read that one?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you should. You should. It's a quick read, but it talks a lot about that. About, you cannot own how other people respond to you. That's them, not you. So I love that. I want to throw in one other thing that, to really nail in, because I enjoyed the conversation so much around the ego. And I think where also going back to how it relates to nonprofits that I have seen is that compared to, for example, how I run my business, right? I have a concern that in the event that Tosha failed to show up one day, how long would this business continue?
Sure.
Until it fizzled out to nothing, right? Because it's the Tosha Anderson show. And I really realized how vulnerable that is for my clients, for my staff, for my family, right? And so about a year and a half ago, I started a relentless pursuit of making myself as irrelevant in my business as possible for the betterment of the clients, the employees, in my family, right? That would have to survive on beyond me or my abilities to work. And since then, I've been very intentional to make sure there's a succession plan for every key function within the business. And oftentimes I've noticed in the nonprofit space that we have very siloed departments.
That's right.
There's usually one person that operates in that function, fundraising, a finance person, maybe a program director, and then there's like the ED or the CEO. And there might be a few other roles, but by and large, there's very distinct silos and nobody really knows how the other department does things. And nobody really has a transition plan or a succession plan, short or long-term, for those key roles. And really, in my experience, I've seen where organizations will keep leaders in place. And I've actually witnessed this happening, that we had a poor leader in place way longer than they should have been because no one knew how to do some of the key functions of that job. That was the only reason. And so I think for-profit businesses figure out, how can I make money without me having to show up to work every day? How can I make money, make sure that I'm growing the business and it's not me doing all of the work, right? How can I drop my ego, which was a bit of an ego blow for me, I have to confess, that, hey, this is no longer going to be the Tosha show. It's got to be a firm and it's got to be all of us. And really, like I said, almost aggressively pursuing a transition plan for every single key function. And now some days people ask me, Tosha, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know, I'll figure something out, but it's not going to be, it can't be me. And as hard as that is to accept, and I especially feel that's true with founders of nonprofits. And I had a conversation with the founder last week, and I basically told them, this is not your story anymore. Based on all the people you've impacted, it's a collection of stories, and it can't be about you anymore. And I think that was a huge wake-up call for him, but I think he appreciated that. So I would say drop the ego too.
Yeah, two things if you don't mind. I think there are 2 points that you raised. One is when it comes to leadership, what people tend to do is they're so insecure about somebody taking their position that they tend to hire somebody who doesn't threaten them, as opposed to someone who is really qualified and strong for the position. And that person does the same thing. So you have insecurity in the chain of leadership. So you got to get away from that. The second thing, to your point about legacy, I think there are 3 questions that leaders need to ask themselves. One is what kind of life you want to live. 2 is what kind of legacy you want to leave behind. And 3, what are you doing intentionally every day to fulfill the answers to those first 2 questions? And if people have a hard time understanding what they want their legacy to be, do this exercise of write their obituary. And if you write your obituary, ask yourself, are you living? Is that simply a public statement, or is that really a standard that your family is to live by moving forward?
I love that.